Genesis 1, 2, and 3. Let's read so you stay with me. They are very... In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. The earth, darkness. The earth, darkness. Darkness, the earth. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of darkness, introducing God's new creation project. Genesis 1:2 is the introduction of God's new creation project. Please stay with me. That is God's redemption plan announced in Genesis 1 verse 2. Darkness on the earth and the Spirit of God introducing God's reality. So verse 2 of Genesis 1, the Spirit of God was hovering over it, incubating on the earth. Incubating. The darkness there is not the absence of the sun, because in verse 3 of Genesis chapter 1, Genesis 1:3, it says, put it up quickly, Genesis 1:3, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. God said, let there be light. So the heaven and the earth of Genesis 1:1 is the Spirit of God. The heaven and earth of Genesis 1:1 is the Spirit of God. Verse 3, let there be light, or me be light. Me be light. Stay with me. The word Yahweh. Yahweh. I will be what I will be. I am what I am. I will be what I will be. Yahweh. So when he says, let there be light, what he means is God is light. God is light. Yahweh. I will be what I will be because I am what I am. So because I am what I am, light be. God is light. God is light. Now, that's why the light there is not the sun, the moon, and the stars. It's not the moon and the sun and the stars. The light there is God himself, which means a new creation in light. A new creation in light. Now, please remove your religious caps now, because we're dealing with very accurate knowledge now. There has been darkness, and now there's the new creation in the light. So when Jesus says, our Father which art in heaven, he is saying the Father or God who is a spirit. The Father or God who is a spirit. Brother John helps us with that. John 4:23. Put it up for me. John chapter 4 verse 23. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshiper shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. Next verse. God a spirit. The Spirit of God moved upon the face of darkness, and God said, I am light. Now, God a spirit, and they that worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. Theos pneuma, God's spirit. Now, rather than use the word spirit in Matthew, you have the word heaven. Matthew didn't use spirit. Matthew used heaven to mean the same thing that Genesis was talking about. Now, John says God is spirit. So in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, 2 and 3, you find a new creation. God is beginning a new heaven and a new earth. A new creation. A new people. That's how the Bible opened up. The Bible opened up introducing God's ultimate project, the new man. The Bible opened up introducing God's project, the new creation, in the light. Now, so the word waters is understood by theologians to mean people. Waters. The Spirit of God hovered over the people, moved on the face of the waters. That the Spirit of God was hovering over the people, announcing his new creation plan. Stay with me. So the Spirit of God in all the earth. The word waters means people or nations. So in Genesis 1:2, which is the light of God, in verse 3, is God starting a project, beginning something. Light as the answer to darkness. Light as the answer to darkness. So when Jesus says, our Father which art in heaven, he is reading Genesis chapter 1. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Now, the use of heaven by Bible writers, the use of the word heaven. Now look at me, everybody. Please look at me. Stop writing. I hope you realize that English is not heavenly language. I hope you realize that Greek and Hebrew is not heavenly language. These are earthly created languages for men to use in communicating with one another. So when the writers wrote the Bible, they looked for human language to use to explain the realities. That's why Moses will use heaven, Moses will use spirit, Matthew will use heaven to mean the same thing. Stay with me. So you must understand, when we start talking about word study in the Bible, we are studying human language to explain spiritual realities. Okay, so now, that word, heaven and earth, is often referred to as the clouds, the atmosphere, and its distance. The clouds, the atmosphere, and its distance. Then the earth where people are. They use that phrase, heaven, in reverence to God. Because the Jews, you discover that Matthew was the one who used that phrase the most. Heaven, 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 earth, kingdom of heaven. Matthew used it more than anybody else. Kingdom of heaven rather than kingdom of God, Matthew. Because heaven was used like a reverence point for God. Oh, God is highly exalted. God is way beyond man. So to explain way beyond man, God in heaven, man on earth. So that was used to show that God's level is not man's level. So the language to explain that is heaven and earth. Stay with me. So, where God is and what God does is like heaven compared to earth. Following? So heaven is used to describe God's activities on the earth.